Today's headlines: Russia's Lavrov says North Korea must respect UN resolutions. UN says heavy rainfall seen during Storm Harvey are probably linked to climate change. Pentagon braces for more Harvey requests for help. U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley says North Korea missile over Japan absolutely unacceptable and irresponsible. Plus, visual journalism today by David Murphy. Hello everyone, I am Lynn Pence, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Reacting to the reclusive state's launch of a projectile over Japan, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Tuesday Russia insists North Korea abide by UN Security Council resolutions regarding its missile program. North Korea fired a missile early on Tuesday that flew over Japan and landed in the Pacific about 1,180 kilometers or 735 miles off Hokkaido. The test was seen as one of the most provocative ever from the reclusive state. Lavrov was attending a news conference on a visit to the United Arab Emirates, where he met his counterpart, UAE Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan.
Что касается Северной Кореи и проводимых испытаний, мы привержены всем резолюциям Совета Безопасности ООН, настаиваем на том, чтобы наши северокорейские соседи в полной мере их соблюдали. Этим мы руководствуемся в ходе дискуссий в Совете Безопасности и будем руководствоваться в том числе на заседании, которое сейчас, как я понимаю, предлагается провести для обсуждения последнего испытания ракеты Корейской Народно-Демократической Республики.
The two ministers discussed the war in Syria, with Al Nahyan calling for Iran and Turkey to end what he called their colonial actions in Syria, signaling unease about diminishing Gulf Arab influence in the war.
جزء من عدم عودة الكرة مرة أخرى هو طبعا وجود حل سياسي في سوريا، ولكن أيضا جزء آخر من هذا الوضع هو خروج أطراف تحاول أن تقلل من هيبة وسيادة الدولة السورية، وهنا أتحدث بصراحة وبوضوح عن كل من إيران وتركيا. إذا استمرتا إيران وتركيا بنفس الأسلوب والنظرة التاريخية أو الاستعمارية أو التنافسية بينهما في شؤون وقضايا عربية، سنستمر في هذا الوضع إذا اليوم مش في سوريا بكرة في بلد آخر.
Что мы будем всячески поощрять работу в этом направлении с участием всех внешних оппозиционеров. Но еще раз подчеркну, что особое значение мы придаем начатому в Астане процессу согласования зон деэскалации, согласования примирения, прекращения огня между правительственной армией и вооруженной оппозицией. И я считаю, что здесь мы имеем наибольшие шансы на то, чтобы повлиять в позитивном направлении на ситуацию на Земле.
The United Nations said on Tuesday climate change could explain the heavy rainfalls by Tropical Storm Harvey. The World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, said the rise of temperatures probably increased the humidity levels in the atmosphere.
What I think we can say is that the fact that we do have climate change, our atmosphere is warmer, it contains more moisture. It means that when we do have a hurricane, a tropical cyclone like this, then when an event does occur, then climate change does very likely increase the associated rainfall. But climate change per se does not cause tropical cyclones.
The slow-moving storm has brought catastrophic flooding to Texas, killed at least 9 people, led to mass evacuations, and paralyzed Houston, the fourth most populous U.S. city. Some 30,000 people were expected to seek emergency shelter as the flooding entered its 4th day. Much of the Houston metropolitan area, where 6.8 million people live, remained underwater on Tuesday, with some parts of the region recording more than 40 inches of rain since the storm's arrival.
What's particularly unusual and has had the biggest impact is it's very, very slow moving. It's basically just sat on the coast, so it's not moving away as most tropical storms do. It's just sitting there, and so the impact of the rainfall is even greater. Just the amount of urban development in the past few years has been phenomenal. So it means, you know, you've got roads, you've got pavement, the water cannot get away. You've got a lot of humans living in that area. So there's many different factors involved.
Up next, Pentagon braces for more Harvey requests for help. U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley says North Korea's missile over Japan is absolutely unacceptable and irresponsible. Plus, visual journalism today by David Murphy. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return in a moment. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. U.S. Air Force Major General James Whittam said Tuesday that the Pentagon is bracing for more requests to provide assistance in the aftermath of Tropical Storm Harvey. His comments came as U.S. President Donald Trump headed to Texas to survey the response to Harvey, the first natural disaster of his White House tenure, as officials in Houston struggled to manage the massive floodwaters.
So if you're looking at an event that only occurs every few hundred years, the planning that would have normally occurred for that probably wasn't here. So in many cases, the request for assistance, not only for the National Guard but federal forces, may not have been anticipated quick enough. But we're providing everything we can as quickly as the state asked for it, including pre-posturing, like I talked about. We think that based off the sustained, as we look at further planning, based off the duration of the response and recovery from this event, General Engel, under his own authority, is posturing up to 20 to 30,000 additional soldiers and airmen that could be used if Texas asked for them.
The slow-moving storm has brought catastrophic flooding to Texas, killed at least 9 people, led to mass evacuations, and paralyzed Houston, the fourth most populous U.S. city. Some 30,000 people were expected to seek emergency shelter as the flooding entered its 4th day. Ahead of Security Council meeting on North Korea's latest missile launch, an ambassador of U.S. to the United Nations said Tuesday what happened yesterday is absolutely unacceptable and irresponsible. North Korea fired a ballistic missile over Japan's northern Hokkaido island into the sea earlier on Tuesday, prompting an emergency Security Council meeting and drawing sharp reactions from world leaders.
Well, first of all, what happened yesterday is absolutely unacceptable and irresponsible. The United States, along with Japan and South Korea, have called for an emergency Security Council meeting this afternoon. We are going to talk about what else is left to do to North Korea. No country should have missiles flying over them like those 130 million people in Japan. It's unacceptable. They have violated every single UN Security Council resolution that we've had, and so I think something serious has to happen.
U.S. President Donald Trump warned that all options are on the table as the United States considers its response. ABC Hawaii's interview with David Murphy of Around the Lens. That's next. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. Welcome back. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. ABC Hawaii's Alfred Asenas had a chat with Mr. David J. Murphy, founder and host of the weekly online broadcast Around the Lens. Around the Lens covers all things visual journalism, which encompasses both photojournalism and documentary filmmaking. Take a look.
Now, David J. Murphy may not be a household name just yet, but given his military experience as a combat journalist and public relations officer spanning almost 2 decades, it would suffice to say that he has earned a great deal of respect and credibility, not to mention a sense of commitment to continue what he does best, sharing his knowledge and exchanging ideas through those in his field, similar to what is shown here in his weekly broadcast on YouTube.
So I did photography for the Marine Corps, not really out of my own choice, but ultimately it was a great choice because I learned to love the craft and I was actually pretty good at it. So I really enjoyed and developed my passion and love for photojournalism while doing it on the job. This love carried on as I completed my time in the military and moved on to other things, and it continues to this day, and it's one of the reasons why I started the podcast Around the Lens. Around the Lens is a live weekly visual journalism roundtable show where I get together a group of visual journalists, whether they be faux journalists or broadcasters, to talk about visual journalism. There were a lot of podcasts out there that talk about photography, general photography. I think This Week in Photography is a great one if you are looking for sort of general photography talk, or if you're sort of a beginner or intermediate in the field. I think it's a great show for that. But there was nothing out there that really delved into the heart of what I was interested in, which is visual journalism. And I want to say I call it visual journalism because in this day and age, I don't think anyone is truly just a photographer or just a videographer. I think the cameras we have today and the capabilities and the skills that we are required to have to be competitive in this market require us to master both fields, master both photography and videography, and that's why I consider us visual journalists.
Now, David did share his views with us about different forms of technology, like my cell phone here and that tablet I'm using in front of me right now, and the use of social media, which people can now deliver news and information in a more timely manner. He has shared with us some praises as well as some words of caution. We'll know more about them in part 2 of our interview with David J. Murphy and all things visual media. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Alfred Desenes for Eagle News. I'm one with 25.
Thank you, Alfred. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us again next time as we bring you news that matters to you. Visit our website at Eaglenews.PH, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. I am Lynn Pence, and I am one with 25.